Welcome back, guys, to the Great Ace Attorney to Resolve, where last episode, having ascertained that Kazuma was with Gregson on the night we suspected he died, on an assassination mission no less, to kill Seishiro Jigoku, the court went to recess to find out if the Japanese judge was safe. With our defense needing new leads to continue on, we took the chance to pull on Hairlock Sholmes' ears to find out it was a communication device. Having contacted Sholmes and Mikotoba on the SS Grouse currently docked in Dunkirk, the duo continued their own investigations, having entered Jigoku's room to find it a mess as we were about to question Chicken Stroganoff with our final dance of logic and reasoning. Nothing would please me more. What is this? We have but minutes until the vessel puts to sea. No games now. Time is of the essence. Mr. Stroganoff, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. You told us that Jigoku left the ship some 2 hours ago. That is what I said. Sadly, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it. What? Yes, of course. I see you've noted it too, Mikotoba. Then please do take the lead. What in this cabin shows the impossibility of Jigoku having disembarked 2 hours ago? Let's see what the last 3 years have done to your observational skills then, Mikotoba. It's been 10 years since we last did this, Sholmes, not 3. Why, of course it has, quite. Now, all the clues are here in this cabin for your eyes to see. But as I always say, you must not merely look, but observe. Observe and the answers shall become clear. So, impress me. I think I can manage that. Easy.
Take that!
Perhaps you should have cleared away that glass. How curious that the ice shouldn't have melted despite it being abandoned 2 hours ago. It would appear that the man was here in this very cabin until moments before our arrival. With this well-chilled glass in hand. Get your mind off the refreshments, Sholmes. One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganoff? But why would Seishiro run from us? Before we consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying that these first-class cabins of the SS Gourse are the same ones in which you and Mr. Jigoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan? That's right, they are. I was in the cabin next door and Seishiro was, yes. 50 days in this very cabin during our voyage. As I suspected, for you see, there are traces in this cabin of a dark secret that Mr. Jigoku had to hide. What traces? I know nothing about this. This is news to you, is it, Mr. Stroganoff? Sholmes, what exactly are you getting at? As I said, there are traces in this cabin of some nefarious activity. Something that appears out of place, which I'm quite sure won't have escaped your notice. Something out of place in here. That's the key to this, Mikotoba. The remnants of the dark deed that took place in here being masked by something quite incongruous. I must say I didn't foresee ever doing this dance of deduction with you again, Mikotoba. No, quite. But life is full of unexpected twists and turns, as we well know. Now then, let's see if I can't uncover the truth here. Yes, you have the floor, my dear fellow. Bang!
Take that!
Don't even have to investigate. Yeah! It's the rules of passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging crooked on the wall, as if they were put there in a hurry. Yes, as I'm sure you've already concluded. The frame was originally over here. The shape and size are a perfect match. You are right. When did flame move? Hardly the most observant of crewmen, are you, Mr. Stroganoff? I would think your captain is quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability. Oh dear, that really seemed to touch a nerve. So, Mikotoba, why don't you lift that frame off the wall? Wrong guy. That looks like a bullet hole. What? Who has been shooting walls? I see, the projectile has been removed. Clearly the careful occupant of this room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Stroganov. I have the distinct impression that you're attempting to shield said occupant. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I try to protect Eastern stranger? So we're talking about the same man, I see. Good. I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? Because there's some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason why you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep up this pretense as clearly shown by... I really don't know how to approach this one, Sholmes. My dear Mikotoba, simply keep first principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle. And I'm quite sure that you'll see it. In fact, I put a wager on it. So I'm to glare at the fellow from all sides. Well, I can certainly do that. Okay, then. What's going on? It's chunky arms. No. From all angles? Sure. I expect it might be nothing to do with this.
Take that!
It's almost too obvious for words. Quite. The universal language of the world. Money. And I'd wager that the Eastern fellow in question is Seishiro Jigoku, yes? So I presume you realize what this means. There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin. And the way you're going, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice. But... I believe you know, Mr. Stroganov. You know where Mr. Jigoku is hiding at this precise moment in time. Really? In the trunk? As always, Mikotoba, in matters of deduction, the furtive glance is your unfaltering ally. Yes, I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. You found the chink in this burly fellow's armor. We need only follow the man's gaze to know where our prey is hiding. The slightest flicker of the pupils, a minutely delayed blink. Nothing escapes my attention, even that which is barely perceptible. You could hardly call this barely perceptible, Sholmes. The man's turned his entire head. It's not exactly what you describe as a furtive glance, is it? It's almost too obvious. We shall let your tapping toes aside, my dear fellow. So, wait. Just gonna pause this thing to say, like, for the entire game, Sholmes is completely on point in this thing. And I don't think it is because Mikotoba's around he's, like, found his groove. He's leading Mikotoba to the right answers every time. Which kind of goes to show that throughout the entire game, all that's really been going on is Sholmes has not been a lovable goof. He is a lovable goof in this game. But he's literally... And I probably should have clocked this earlier. But we needed a moment of pure, absolute Sholmes to really punctuate it and say it for certain. But he was just coaching. The entire time, he was just instilling and installing his inspective method, if you want to call it deductive method, into both Susato and Ryunosuke. It's the entire point of every deduction we've done is to sharpen their minds. And now we see Sholmes unbound.
Take that!
Sharpen our minds! Yeah! You turned immediately to look at this large trunk, didn't you? That tap dance is great. The truth is, Seishiro Jigoku was unable to escape from the ship in time, and is at this very moment doing his best to stifle his breath inside this trunk. If he still has a breath to take, I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be in everyone's best interest for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible. But how can we? Are you forgetting about the combination lock? We don't know the 7-digit code. The combination lock can't be opened from inside the trunk. Therefore, must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it after our departure. Of course. In short, before Jigoku hid himself inside that trunk, I just got it. He must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. That's so great. That's so good. As I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Stroganoff. No, I know nothing about combination code. Don't move a muscle, my good seaman. Huh? Now, Mikotoba, would you do the honors and open the trunk? God. What the hell? How on earth do you expect me? It's a 7-digit number, remember? Quicken it out, we have little time. Review the scene. Thanks. So how am I supposed to program this in? No matter what, it starts with a 5. Oh, we've only got... Oh, okay. So is it just numbers that represent them? Is it, like, forward and backwards? If we turn them around, do we get a different one? Oh, wait a second. Sorry, just using my own arm. You can't see me. Right. So we're seeing it from the perspective that he isn't seeing it for reference. So it goes from the back to the front because that's how he'd read it on his arm. Not how, you know, we'd see it right now. So it's mirrored. That's a good start. So this should be 3. This is probably a 1. This is a 0. Oh, the rest are easy. The hell is the hell is that? Oh, okay. Yeah, you would write that if you were doing it with a wiggly. With a wiggly. It's a 2, right?
Take that!
Nice. That did it. It's open. You had to meddle, didn't you? Well, Eugene, you found me now. Seishiro. I was really hoping beyond hope not to find you here, you know? But you're not entirely unsurprised, I take it. No, quite. I just wish it were some other way. Well, are you ever going to introduce me? Ah, your reputation precedes you, Mr. Sholmes. I've read stories of many of your exploits. Excuse my manners, Sholmes. This is Mr. Jigoku, my old friend and traveling companion. The devil is in the details, Mikotoba. I believe you meant to say your old friend and traveling companion, who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without a word to anyone when things turned sour. I see my reputation precedes me as well. What an honor. Well, Seishiro, are you going to explain all of this? You know it all by now, I imagine. What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival in Britain, an attempt was made on my life here on this very ship. By the Reaper of the Bailey. Yes, I've since heard. Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago now, mind you. And I had no idea at the time what a dangerous individual he was. Anyway, when we arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed until goodness knows when, it became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again. So you decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it? I'm afraid so, yes. Of course, I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you. It's somewhat surprising, I must say. It's Sholmes. What is? Well, first-class cabins aboard luxury steamships are in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe that this one just happened to be available. So says the protagonist of some colorful short stories. Well, I don't care for your opinion. The cabin did just happen to be available, so I purchased a ticket and here I am. I've just seen for myself the obvious remnants of that incident in this cabin. So you'd already purchased your return ticket before we even docked in Dover, had you? To prevent anyone else taking this cabin and seeing the evidence, is that it? Eugene, I have nothing to say to you. Well, in a mere 5 minutes, the ship will set off on its onward voyage and not make port again until Italy. I'm afraid we must insist that you disembark with us at once. You have no jurisdiction over my movements. We have this, Seishiro. Take it. What is it? It's a subpoena from the Old Bailey. You're a man of the law. You know what the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from the British courts would be. You came prepared then, Eugene. Come on, let's go. One moment. What is it, Sholmes? Inside Mr. Jigoku's trunk, I found this rather fascinating trinket. What is that, Seishiro? I can't help you, I'm afraid. Some small component from something. But what? I have no idea. By the look on his face, I think he genuinely doesn't know. Well, let us pocket it as a small souvenir of our brief sojourn in France. A small component has been entered into the court record. Well, young Naruhodo, I think we've done as much as we can, I'm afraid. The rest will be on the shoulders of you and your assistant. And so we move back to the courtroom. Kazuma Asagi. I know you, and I know you wouldn't lie. Still, there's no doubt that you're holding something back. You know more than you're saying. During the past 30 minutes while this court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expended. But sadly, Mr. Jigoku's whereabouts could not be ascertained. We must accept the unfortunate conclusion that the Reaper has already done the deed. There's no sense in wasting any more of the court's time. The prosecution calls for an immediate verdict.
Objection!
No, the trial cannot end now. You're a Japanese man, Ryunosuke. You should know when to lay down your sword. And you should know never to presume when the battle is won. The court has already been presented with all the evidence and heard all relevant testimony. And there can only be one conclusion. That the accused is guilty. All relevant testimony? Far from it. There's still a crucial witness from whom the court is yet to hear a single word of testimony. In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, counsel. Yes, my lord. Tomorrow, if possible. The witness is already on his way and scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Who on earth is this crucial witness? Seishiro Jigoku. The very man allegedly murdered by the Reaper. Judge Jigoku, you found him! But the investigations of every policing resource in the capital suggest that Jigoku was already dead. You did for half an hour! How in the name of God did you find the man? They were looking all day. All night. It was located in France during the recess at the port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one of Mr. Herlock Sholmes' famous deductions. Herlock Sholmes. Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Mr. Jigoku on the night of his death. Because along with Prosecutor Asagi, Gregson was on a mission to assassinate the man. Which means that Seishiro Jigoku is the sole witness. who can clarify exactly what happened aboard the SS Grouse on the 31st of October. Well, it would appear that it's too soon to move to adjudication at this point. The prosecution concurs. The court must hear Mr. Jigoku's testimony. No judgment should be passed until all testimony is being considered. In that case, I hereby call the end of today's proceedings. Court will reconvene at the same hour tomorrow. No objections from either side? No, my lord. No objections, my lord. We live to fight another day. By the skin of our teeth! And so we come up yet again to the Be Continued marker. I do wonder where we'll resume from, so instead of cliffhangering this, let's continue on. The unexpected halt of proceedings sent a clamour around the courtroom. But outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical still night. Then, at a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. What have you done with Judge Jigoku? We have returned, my dear fellows! Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help. Think nothing of it. I believe you've had an even more whaling day than Mikotoba and I know. You could say that. We were on the brink of defeat in court earlier. So this prosecutor, Asuke, had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say? Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I mean, it's incredible. To think that he'd even entertain the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin. Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. After all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse. When all this started, almost a year ago now, Mr. Sholmes still hasn't told us the truth about what really happened back then. About the motivation for what he himself described as a great detective's lie. Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France. Well, it is another country, Mr. Sholmes. So, what news of Judge Jigoku? We took him to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives there have a lot of questions for the man. Poor Professor Mikotoba. This must be quite a shock for him. Ah, yes, I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already. I put upon you for the matter only yesterday. You put upon me, Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well. Oh, you had a reply already? What was so urgent though, Mr. Sholmes? Such matters can wait until later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present. Well, that's good news, because supper is ready, everyone. Ah, and what a feast it is. If I were none the wiser, I'd think the trial were won already. Do you really want to put that all on top of a trap? Roast beef, kippers, stew, steak, and kidney pie. Yorkshire pudding. Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up, and lashings and lashings of gravy. Tons of it. Endless gravy. In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. And this place appears to be the only one set with a helping of pheasant as well. Oh, sorry, Hurley, not there. Why ever not? Are we in set places this evening? Yes, and that place is for Susie's daddy. For me? That's right. I made it especially for you, Professor Mickey. I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you. It's a shame, really. What do you mean? Well, for a brief moment, I believed it. Susie and I were half-sisters, I mean. Oh! Secret's bigger than that. Iris, do you mean... Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened in to the conversation you had after I tricked you all into thinking I'd left. What? The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikotoba are Iris's father. Yes, about that, Iris. You know, I know. You can't tell me at the moment. Oh, Iris. The pheasant is by way of an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping. Oh, no, that's quite alright. Then why did I get any apologetic pheasant? So just who is Iris's father? I'll start working that process of elimination now. I suppose that's not something we'll be finding out today. So then, let us dine, while our largely pheasantless plates are still piping hot. Fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious. Eat as much as you like. There are always seconds. This could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. About that telegram from Japan, and about Kazuma. I can't let this opportunity slip away. What? Anyone else in the room? Just you? Get your feet off the chair! Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Oh, God. Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over Mikotoba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes. Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy. Even though I've played the role of father to you for far longer. Mr. Sholmes, could I discuss some things with you? Certainly, my dear fellow. I find myself quite in the mood for a spell of conversation. No doubt, you're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game. I can probably contain my curiosity on that one. I will tell you my deep love of gravy. You needn't look at me in that fashion. In what fashion? Soaked Yorkshire puddings in gravy. It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpleasant matters to discuss. Okay. Unpheasant. Well, we've got time enough for one this episode, right? The telegram from Japan. So what was in the telegram you received back from Japan then? Ah, this! I thank my lucky stars it arrived in time. Record founders indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asoki, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. What? Those 4 names? We've come across that exact same list before. They came up in that unforgettable case last spring. What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be masking monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. In exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked, we deciphered a fragment of a message. K. Asoki, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we didn't find the names out until the case was over, and we never did get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. So, why are the names coming up again now? Yes! Where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Mr. Sholmes? I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Jigoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature. You asked Inspector Hosonaga to undertake such an onerous task for you. And in my name. I wonder what guise he opted for this time. My dear fellows, it was a matter of great urgency, you understand. Anyway, the list of names was found in Seishiro's office, as Sholmes predicted. So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was... It was sent to Judge Jigoku. He was the intended recipient. I don't believe it. But that doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies. I did formulate a hypothesis about that. But without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it. Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once. Telegram from Japan has been entered into the court record. Ooh, how do we get you to get that out? Kazuma's death is on the list too? And I'm wondering if I might have to coax a little bit more out of you, sir, after what you just said. So, with this obtained, we leave you this time for the Great Ace Attorney to resolve and continue next time as we finish our last questions before we head back into trial and the roller coaster that will probably be the last trial sequences of the game. I'll see you guys next time for more. Bye-bye.